Hey folks, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. Welcome to another Fixed Blade Friday. We've got a knife here from HX Outdoors. And I've had a lot of good luck with a lot of the fixed blade knives from HX Outdoors. They have everything from really funky stuff to functional stuff. So funky to functional and almost anything you want in between. And today we're taking a look at something that is on the functional end of the spectrum. D2 steel, sort of, they just call it a rubber. I think it's like a TPE rubber handle. Very grippy, very comfortable in hand. Some little shock absorption in there if you're going to do a little bit of light batoning or something. And lanyard in the back, some metal that comes to a point. They call it a glass breaker. It's just the steel tang of the blade back there. And you've got a nice drop point, swedge, fire sparking area right there, a forward choil on the blade itself, and a bit of a lanyard at the back. That's very briefly the blade. The sheath is this Molly type compatible-esque body. I think it's probably an ABS sheath part, the main part that holds the knife, a little diamond sharpening on the side, and you've got your ferro rod included on the side of the sheath right here. And I'll talk about if that's a good thing or not once we get into the review. It holds the knife quite well. No rattle. Well, there's very little bit of rattle at the bottom. It's a ambidextrous, so you can put in the knife either way. So you can have the blade facing that way, or you can put it back in this way. Either way, it doesn't matter. So it works well for right or left. Bunch of holes on here, slots for straps, a leg tie, what's this called? Paracord. Some paracord for a leg tie, and it also has a strap that you could use for a leg tie. But it's not a long enough knife that I think you really don't need either one of these. So, but we'll talk about that in more detail when we get to the full review from the tabletop mode. So why don't you stick around for that, because it's coming at you right now. Okay, to help make this cleaner here, let's take the knife out and finish talking about this sheath. You can see this wrapping all over the place. For this Molly compatible, it holds onto the sheath. The sheath is basically just this. You see this side, exact same thing on the other side. And then it's got all this to hold it all together. A little bit of Velcro or hook and loop to hold the blade in place. So I'd rather it was a snap on there instead of hook and loop, but that works. And this loop, you know, I don't see any practical use for it, so let's just take that off. This paracord, it's basically just a way to carry around some spare paracord, so if you don't mind that dangling off the bottom, that's fine. If you don't like it, you know, just take it off and remove it completely. The only thing I don't really like about this sheath, you know, there's nothing super great about it, but the thing I really don't like is how do you attach it to your belt? And so we've got a belt here. So we'll put the belt through here. And we want to carry this knife. So what do? We put it over the belt. Hopefully you can see this. We put it over the belt and then put the Velcro down like that. So the Velcro holds it. And then your belt can go, you know, through here. And so that's how it hangs. So when it's on your body and it's hanging like this, the problem I have with it is you've got just that little bit of Velcro force right there to hold it on. It can come off. See it let go already? It doesn't take very much force at all for it to come off. I don't like that. I don't know if you can see it or not, but what we have is 2 layers of this fabric here, and it's sewn together. I don't know if they accidentally sewed that together and meant for it to stay apart. If they did accidentally sew this together and it's intended to stay apart, then you could just put your belt through there and it would never come off because it's sewn together at the bottom. And so then this would be a big loop that just is a loop all the time, and it's a permanent loop. And then you would use this Velcro here, you know, if you're going to attach this to a backpack or, you know, some other kind of bag, and not use this for attaching it to your pants. So I'm going to take that stitching out and see if that's the case. So my wife is just using a seam ripper to take it apart. I think my idea was exactly correct, because all she had to do is take that little bit off, and now there is a loop all the way through like that. See that? And that didn't interfere with the Velcro. The Velcro on the other side still works the way it's supposed to. And I think somebody just accidentally sewed that shut when they should have just left it open like that, so you can your belt can go through there. And then it won't ever fall down because there's nothing to let go, so it'll fall. Perfect. Okay, so the other things here is we've got this little bit of a diamond rod. I say don't use this. Don't use this. Don't use this until you absolutely have to. If you did get stuck in a life and death situation, this is your only knife that you have on you and you're out and you're lost. When your knife is dull, then use this. The reason I say don't use it is this will wear out super quickly and then it'll be totally useless to you. So save it for when you desperately need it. And if that's the only option you have, then sharpen your knife with it, because it won't sharpen very many times. And over here, you've got your ferro rod. Hopefully that stays in place. Let's see how well if it stays in place while I strike on it. So yeah, I don't want to make too big of a fire. Obviously, it strikes very well. That was just the second time I slid across it. I did it for the camera first. I didn't want to ruin all of this and just scrape it up like crazy. In case I choose to sell this, I wanted to make sure I left it as close to brand new as I could, and I think that's good enough for you guys. So there's that. Let's put the sheath aside. Now we've got the knife, and let's zoom in a little bit so we can see this in some more detail. First thing that they did, they put this lanyard on here, and the lanyard's on here semi-permanently. I don't like to use lanyards, but you know, it's not paracord for one. I really wish it was, but I can take this apart easily enough. This is the kind of end that is designed to easily be taken apart and put back together again if you need it to. And let's leave it all together again in case I sell it, and then if somebody who buys it, you know, who wants the lanyard, has it already attached. So there we go. Factory edge is still on here. I have stropped it on a strop. Let's see how sharp it is. And we've got some cardboard here. Cuts that quite well. There we go. That's a much better cut. Let's try cutting some of that sisal rope that I got a little bit left of. There we go. Cut through that. A little bit more effort than I wanted. And that's because it's got the factory edge on it. I really don't like factory edges on knives. Some people want to see how well the factory edge performs. I don't know. I think that's nonsense, because the factory edge is something that's on this knife for 1%, less than 1% of the life of the knife. I mean, factory edge, I get it home, I sharpen it the way I want it to be sharpened. And every knife enthusiast should do the same thing. The factory edge, especially on budget knives, and so right now the way I'm using that word is anything under $100 is a budget knife. The cutting edge has been just tuned by some guy in a factory very quickly and just to get it out the door as fast as they can. So it's not a perfect cutting edge, almost never. Very often the angle changes from here through here, you know, the angle of the grind. It's just not very good. And so I always advise people, how does it perform after it's been properly sharpened? That's much more indicative of how good it is than how well it performs with a factory edge. Okay, so let's keep talking about this thing. Let's do all the specs next. So we've got D2 steel, and we've got this rubber compound here, and it comes all the way through. So it's a full tang, so it's sort of a tang that's narrow here, and it just gets wider, and it has a really good grip on it. You've got this forward choil, saber grind, and a little bit of jimping up here. A little bit of jimping in the rubber there. You can see that swedge coming down to a point. So it's got a very strong point on it. And it's a slight drop point here. Nice belly and a good flat section. No sharpener's choil. I wish there was one, but it's not that big of a deal. And so that's basically how the components are laid out. Now let's do the measurements. Cutting edge is 9.6 centimeters, 3.78 inches. I wish it was all the way to the end here. I don't need this finger choil here. You've got a really nice one right here, very comfortable, and I'd like the cutting edge to be all the way to the end. So that's another one of my cons. Let's keep talking. Blade length, so tip of the handle, so end of the handle to the tip of the blade, 12 centimeters, 4.75 inches. The blade thickness, we've got some thick stock here, friends. 4.62 millimeters, that's 0.182 inches, so well over 1/8 of an inch here. The blade depth, so from the spine to the cutting edge, 3.13 centimeters, that's 1.23 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, so they're saying this is a titanium coating, so where the silver turns to the black titanium coating, I think it's something other than titanium, but we'll let that be as it may. Right there, it is 0.69 millimeters thick, which is 0.027 inches. So it's a little thicker at the edge than I'd like to have, but not by much at all. I want an outdoors knife to be around 0.6, a bigger outdoors knife like this. So it's just a tiny bit thicker than I want. No problem there. The handle now, handle length, and this time I'm only talking about the rubber, not this extra steel back here. 11.7 centimeters, 4.6 inches. The handle thickness, 2.24 centimeters. That's 0.88 of an inch. Fairly thick right there. The handle depth, and that's right here. So after this choil, right there, that's the widest spot. 3.23 centimeters, 1.27 inches. The grip area, and so I measured it from, this line here. So the spot that's got the dots in it all the way back to the end, 10.5 centimeters, 4.14 inches. The total length of this knife, and now I'm going all the way from the end, so the steel end to the steel tip, is 24.5 centimeters, 9.65 inches. How much does this weigh? 213 grams, 7.55 ounces. And when you add in the sheath, it's 384 grams, 13.55 ounces. How much does this knife cost? Well, at GearBest, I've got some coupon codes down below for you. At least 10%. There's a 20% coupon code that might work. And I've got a site-wide 7% coupon code down below. So lots of coupon codes for you to choose from. So you'll get at least 10% off of the following price. And this is the regular price at GearBest. $42.79 US, or 55.69 Canadian, or 35.48 euros, or 31.72 pounds sterling. And they've got prices in almost every type of currency that is around the world right now, because they ship to almost every country. So what do I think of this knife? I like the very high saber grind. The coating on here is fairly durable. I do believe that it's D2 steel from the testing that I did. I like this striking zone here for the ferro rod. Very good. And I like that it's far enough forward that you don't get it on your thumb here, because you want it to be a little softer where this jimping is. That edge would feel a little bit hard on your thumb for a while if your thumb was actually getting up there. Nice shape on the blade. I do wish that it came all the way back and didn't have this forward choil. Outdoor knives, I don't really like this. It's okay, but for folding knives, sometimes you like to do that. But for outdoor knives, I generally want to have my grip on this, have a really solid grip on the handle the way it's designed so I can cut hard. And if I'm going to need to cut something more delicate, well, if the cutting edge comes right close, then I just put my thumb behind it and I cut right there delicately. So it doesn't make sense to me to waste that much real estate. Some guys like it, so if you're that kind of guy, maybe this is the knife for you. Handle, nice and grippy. I like it. It fits my hand very well. My hand is between large and extra large in North American sizes. That's between 10 and 11 in European sizes. I'm not sure if I like or dislike this diamond rod here. I like that it's there, but it might cause people to rely on it. And that's not something you should rely on. It's just not good enough quality to be, your first choice to be relied on. Don't like Velcro. I'd rather have snaps. So there's a few pros and a few cons. For the price, if you really like the basic shape of this knife, and especially if this handle is a style that you really like, and I do very, very much like this handle. This is the best part about this knife because it's that rubber TPE type stuff, so it's got some give in it. It'll accept some shock if you do a little bit of batoning. For that, it's actually good that it's shorter because it'll stop you from batoning really huge stuff because that's not very smart. Just baton a little piece off. It'll absorb some shock from that. If your hands get wet, this is still going to be very grippy in your hand. If your hands get cold, it's still going to be fairly grippy. So that's a really good thing. And it seems to fit very, very well in my hand. So I love that knife handle. And I like the way the blade is designed from here forward. So it's a very nice blade. I only wish it was a little bit longer. It's a good knife. If this is something that you're looking for in terms of style, shape, and all that stuff, would I recommend this? Definitely. I definitely have no hesitation to recommend this at the price point that you can get it at, especially if you use the coupon codes below. Please use my links as well. That really helps the channel out an awful lot. And otherwise, take a pass on it if it's not quite what you're looking for, because there's all kinds of knives out there. No sense in getting something that's not quite what you want, because there's going to be something that you like somewhere. Keep looking for it and you're going to find it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.